In a moment, I'm going to share with you the kinds of questions you can use for this exercise. But first, here are your instructions. First of all, identify 2 to 3 people you trust and who care about you. These can be people at home or at work, ideally one person from each group, and ask them if they'd help you increase your self-awareness. Give them some notice rather than springing it on them. They might appreciate some time to reflect on it so you can get some really valuable data. Plan and set aside that time to chat, ideally in person and for sure face-to-face, so video conference is a good option if you can't meet in person. Tell them about your journey, this course perhaps, and why you've chosen them to help you. Explain again about why you want to become more self-aware. Remember, blind spots are the beliefs that we hold and the behaviors that we exhibit that we ourselves are blind to. We all have things we're unaware of that are actually putting people off from connecting with us. And so we want to minimize those events where they are within our control. And the question that you want to be asking is, what do I do or say that I need to pay more attention to and that I could adjust in some way? Now, I encourage you to be explicit in giving them permission to be honest with you. Reassure them that it won't put your relationship at risk. Far from it. I've had clients come back and report that they've had the most profound conversations with the people that matter most to them, and that it deepened their emotional connection and strengthened their relationship. And I suggest allowing 20 to 30 minutes for each conversation, but don't rush them. Take as long as the conversation needs, and I'm sure you'll be respectful of their time. In all of your conversations, avoid getting defensive. Be a listener. Ask questions. Ask for examples and clarifications. Let's take a look at the questions you could use. And by the way, good questions can be really simple questions that get straight to the heart of things. What's important here is that your questions are inviting, that they encourage the person to openly and comfortably share their thoughts with you. Think about holding a space or a bubble in time for them to talk. For starters, you could say, "Can you tell me more about that?" This is a great way to tell someone you're fully open to listening to what they have to say, and it shows curiosity, another big leaders who coach mindset. Often people start at a high level and talk in general terms, especially at the start of a conversation or line of inquiry, for example. To get more specific information, some tangible details, you could say, "Can you give me an example of that?" This is especially useful when we start to feel a little on the defensive, that prickle of discomfort about what they're saying. It's important for you to get examples because these are things you can begin to watch out for and observe in yourself. These examples put you back in control of being able to do something about them. Also, the things they mention, no matter how small or inconsequential they feel to us, they're usually things that are important to them, to your conversation partner. So to object to what they're sharing with you is known as discounting. Basically, you're saying your opinion doesn't matter. And however gently you think you're objecting, it's still discounting. And the effect is simply that stress levels for both of you go up, you create a distance between you, and the door closes on any more rich data for your own growth. In other words, cortisol levels go up and oxytocin levels go down. Good conversations only happen with plentiful levels of oxytocin, the connection hormone. Leaders who coach learn to watch out for this in the way that they listen, how they ask questions, and the language they use. Some other questions you can experiment with are, "How did you feel when I did or said that?" And "Who else might have experienced that about me?" This is a great way to understand the impact of your behavior and what you say, because when we can easily picture or recall the event, it's easier to learn to catch yourself in the moment. Now, it won't be an overnight change, but it makes it a lot easier to try and say or do something different next time. To dig deeper for more data, you could ask, what would have been a better way to respond? This says, I value your opinion. How I make you feel matters to me. This is a brilliant opportunity to deepen that emotional connection between you. Another way we can ask the same thing around the impact of your blind spots are, what could have been different? And how would doing that have made a difference? Use each conversation as an opportunity to gather as much data as possible. That's the objective here. Not to debate it or disagree, but to gather data that we can usefully reflect on. And finally, be sure to thank them for helping you, for their time, for their honesty. Don't overlook the power of saying thank you, even if you think you've indicated it without actually saying thank you. And don't forget, it may have taken them some courage to share with you your blind spots. Again, if it feels comfortable, find a way to acknowledge them, perhaps for how they shared their feelings with you or how they took care of your feelings now and in the past. And as a bonus to your own growth, and if appropriate, you may decide to contract a new way of showing up for them and ask them to remind you and agree how you'd like them to remind you. Agree a word or a phrase that, when spoken, reminds you of this conversation you've had with them. Have your notebook and pen to hand when you do this exercise. You'll find these notes helpful on your Leaders Who Coach journey, your growth longer term, as well as for your assignment